and welcome to the Athletic Brewing post-race report for the Athletic Brewing Ironman Lake Placid, the 13th race in our 2025 Ironman Pro Series and the last Ironman in the series before we head to the World Championships in Nice and Kona. The rain didn't dampen any performances on the day, nor the energy of the spectators and the volunteers, as we had some impressive racing. So let's head down and catch up on all the action. A cloudy, rainy day greeted the athletes on race morning as our professional men headed off on the 2.4-mile Roka swim in Mirror Lake, right in the heart of Lake Placid. Temperatures still warm, so a non-wetsuit swim for our professionals. A fast pace and a large group started to establish themselves at the front. American Thomas Gordon leading the charge, but with him, Jason West, Andrew Horsfield-Turner, Braden Curry, Martin Cicerelli, Matt Schaufer, Christian Hogenhaug, and Bradley Weiss. Cicerelli and Gordon trying to stretch out the lead and string out this group. It would be Gordon who would lead out into the Aussie exit at the end of lap 1, Curry and Horsfield-Turner behind. Gordon, a swimmer by background, having swum at college, he'd also led out the water at Ironman Texas earlier this year. And he'd go on to hit the shore in a swim time of 48 minutes and 51 seconds, 21 seconds ahead of the rest. But he would lose time in T1. Ironman debutant Jason West and Horsfield-Turner closing the gap as they headed out onto the bike. Matthew Marquardt, a minute down out of the water, would once again suffer with cramps in T1 as he had done in Cairns. Out onto the 2-lap Zoot bike course, and a group of 4 was establishing themselves at the front. Horsfield-Turner, Jason West, Cicerelli and Hogenhaug, knowing they had to make good time on the bike and try to distance themselves from the runners in the field. Hogenhaug looked controlled, perhaps racing a little differently from usual, managing a big few weeks of racing with his second at Ironman Frankfurt and then 5th at 70.3 Swansea just last weekend. As the race went on, Robert Callan and Braden Curry would join the group at the front, and as the men returned to town at the end of lap 1, Matthew Marquardt, having recovered from the cramps, and Trevor Foley, who had been over 6 minutes back out the water, had bridged up to join this front group. The rain continued as they headed out onto lap 2. Another athlete who had also bridged up was Frenchman Leon Chevalier. Chevalier, like Hogenhaug, had also raced last weekend in Swansea where he finished second. Foley was attacking and pushing the pace. He was here to win and he was going all in. It was causing damage as a few of the early group pack fell off the pace at the back. But this group was working well to keep the pace high, taking it in turns and pushing on. Marquardt would suffer a slight mechanical, but was swiftly able to recover as they headed into T2. In fact, recover well he did, and he was able to get a 30-second lead as he came into T2 and off the bike. It was Marquardt that would lead out onto the Hoka run, but Christian Hogenhaug was not far behind. Foley had come into T2 just under 90 seconds back after the surge by Marquardt at the end of the bike, but would reel in the leaders early on the run, first passing Hogenhaug and then Marquardt, perhaps exchanging some words with each pass, and it was deja vu from 2024, when Foley had passed Marquardt on the run to go on and win. It looked like it was going to be a repeat in 2025. Foley would stretch his lead out to just over a minute by halfway, but then started to falter, the time back to Marquardt coming down quickly. And around the 20-mile mark into the run, Foley would lose some 2.5 minutes in just a couple of miles as Marquardt moved back into the lead. Hogenhaug was holding strong, but also caught Foley, who was going backwards, his race appearing to be unravelling. Matthew Marquardt hadn't won an Ironman until 5 weeks ago when he won Ironman Cairns, and now, after a second here in 2024, he made it 2 wins in 2 races, taking the win at Ironman Lake Placid in 2025. Christian Hogenhaug, another impressive performance after a big month of racing, finishing second. And Foley, having gone all in for the win and suffered, impressively toughed it out to finish still on the podium in third. And so to our women's race, well, the professional women started 5 minutes after the men, diving into Mirror Lake, with hundreds of age groupers and spectators watching behind. Top swimmers Lotte Wilms and Rebecca Clark hitting the pace early, before Beck Clark would start to stretch away off the front, taking Ironman debutante Holly Lawrence with her. There would be clear water back to the chase pack, led by Marta Sanchez in that green cap, and this would include Wilms, Lisa Perterer and Reagan Hollyoak. Clark and Lawrence would complete lap 1 of the Roca swim with a 1-minute lead over the chasers. And that lead would extend out to 2 minutes and 30 seconds as they finished the swim, navigating through the age group athletes who were finishing their first lap. Lawrence made light work of T1, gaining a minute on Clark as she headed out onto the Zoot bike course. She was in the lead and also into unknown territory for this distance. Austria's Lisa Perterer, who had been in the chase pack in the swim, attacked hard on the early kilometres of the bike and had caught up to Lawrence by 16 miles. Perterer, who raced at the Olympics in Paris last year, has then moved quickly up to the middle and full distance. Second at Ironman Cozumel in 24, third at Ironman Texas earlier this year, she's transitioned well to the longer distance and proving a contender in every race. Spain's Marta Sanchez, also in the chase pack from the swim, would take a little longer, but by mile 31 had also caught the front. Now a trio, Perterer, Lawrence and Sanchez. These women were really pushing hard and in doing so catching up with some of the male pros. Perterer, whilst leading the women's race, would make a pass on one of the men as the road hit a punchy climb. Unfortunately for Perterer, as she drew level with the male, they reached the crest of the hill, at which point he accelerated away on the descent, meaning Perterer was unable to complete the pass and as a result suffered a penalty of 3 minutes. Perterer continued to push, her and Sanchez breaking away from Lawrence towards the end of the first lap, where Perterer would then serve her 3-minute penalty. She'd rejoin the race in third, just behind Lawrence. The rest of the women were losing time to the front of the race as they started lap 2. Perterer had managed to ride back up to Sanchez in the lead by mile 87, 140 kilometres into the bike, and the pair continued to push the pace on this stunning, rolling, hilly course of Lake Placid. The pair would share the work as they tried to extend their lead. Behind them and moving steadily through the field was Norway's Solveig Loftseth. Loftseth had been over 5 minutes down out of the water and whilst wasn't making a huge road into that lead, was moving through the field. This Loftseth's second Ironman after her impressive debut at Ironman Hamburg. Perterer and Sanchez would come into T2 together, a rain-soaked, fairly drenched T2, and head out towards the Hoka Run. They would run side by side to start, but it would be Perterer who would be the first to make a move and start to build up a lead over Sanchez and at the front of the race. Loftseth was now in third, having moved ahead of Lawrence. She was moving quickly and had Sanchez in her sights, with Perterer still pressing on at the front. But Loftseth would catch and make the pass, moving into second just before halfway on the run. She looked strong, controlled, relaxed, and incredibly impressive for someone in just their second Ironman. It would take another 10 Ks for Loftseth to catch Perterer at the front of the race and moving to the lead. Again, looking strong and controlled and still moving well. In just her second Ironman, after a third at Ironman Hamburg, Solveig Lofseth would take the 2025 Ironman Lake Placid win with a run of 2:46.49 on a tough Placid course. Lisa Perterer finished second, the bike course record to her name, which included the 3-minute penalty. Marta Sanchez would round out the podium in third. And so to recap on our men's top 10, Matthew Marquardt, a new course record, breaking Foley's time from last year, 7 hours 50 and 8 seconds to take the win. Back-to-back wins at Cairns and Placid. Hogan Haug, another fantastic second place. Trevor Foley broke Marquardt's bike course record from last year, going 4 hours 10 and 45, and held on to that last podium spot and his Ironman World Championship Nice slot. Chevalier fourth, another good result, and Ironman debutant Jason West, an impressive 5th place. A lot of changes in the overall Ironman Pro Series ranking. Leon Chevalier, his 5th place, puts him now at the top of the rankings, 15,271 points. He does have his maximum number of races, 3 Ironmans and 2 70.3s, so we'll now be looking to swap out some races. Matthew Marquardt's win and 5,000 points only good enough to put him second behind Chevalier. Christian Hogan Haug, Matt Hansen, Braden Curry all jump into the top 10. And so our top 10 from the female race. Solveig Lofseth definitely sending a warning sign by taking the win, 8 hours and 43 minutes, 29 seconds and 5,000 points. Lisa Perterer finished 3 minutes and 21 seconds back after that penalty, but with a 4 hours 51, 27 bike course record. Marta Sanchez in third. Tamara Jewett ran herself into fourth with the fastest run of the day, run course record in 2 hours, 40 minutes, and Holly Lawrence on debut finished in fifth. In the overall series, Jackie Herring in 8th in Placid moves to the top, bumping Kat Matthews down to second. Herring does have 2 Ironmans, 2 70.3s to Kat's 1 70.3. Solveig Lofseth moves into 4th. Marta Sanchez, Lisa Perterer, Reagan Hollyoak, Tamara Jewett all moving up the rankings and now sit in the top 10. This has been your Athletic Brewing post-race report for Lake Placid. Next up in a month's time is Ironman 70.3 Zell am Zee, the last race in the series before we hit the World Championships. I'll see you next time.